What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the European Volleyball Show, a very special pre-recorded edition. My name is Rob St. Clair, and pre-recording this week to accommodate a very special guest. He is a four-time champion of the CEV Champions League, which is a pretty crazy thing to have on a resume. And this year, he's playing for Perugia in Italy, hoping to add to that number. His team very much alive and advancing out of the fourth round to the quarterfinals. Mr. Matt Anderson, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
And you're the perfect person to talk about this match, a featured match of the week, Fenerbahce versus Trentino, because you're in this pool. You've seen both of these teams already this year and seen Trentino more than maybe any other individual matchup in all of Europe this year. You've played them so many times. So you're the perfect guy to have on this one.
Right on. Well, again, glad to be here.
Thanks. So it's been an interesting Champions League for you and for everybody else. Before we get into this match, can you tell us about a little bit about your season so far with Perugia? You're coming back to Italy this year after a year off, and I mean, COVID's affecting everything. It's affecting the scheduling. It's Champions League's actually made it decently through so far without having to move that many matches around. Italy is a very different story. How are you feeling personally after contracting COVID about a month ago and working yourself way back into competition? How's that affected you personally?
I think physically, I'm more or less back to where I was. I was out for, I think it was 12 days totally, where I couldn't do much. I couldn't go to the gym and train, but once I started feeling better at home, I have some free weights here, some bands, and then I was able to do some work just to kind of keep tension on my knees, back, shoulders, the big three for volleyball players that tend to go out when you're not training. But I think mentally, it taxes everybody, and it's ebbs and flows throughout an entire season, throughout the last 2.5 years, because you never know. As soon as you think it's going to kind of go away, it surges back up and disrupts pretty much everything. And yes, it's unfortunate as sportsmen, as athletes, that our seasons are getting changed around all the time. And like you said, here in Italy, we just had a match yesterday that we were supposed to play that got postponed again because of COVID. But we have to also understand that, it's hitting everybody, and we're not special to it. So just to be a little bit more empathetic towards people in general, and know that, once we as a general population are able to get past it, then the athletes can return to the quote unquote normal and just focus on competing. So.
Yeah, well, as if it wasn't already hard enough to be a professional athlete overseas in a time like this, then you get, it really is affecting everybody, especially the last couple months. Everybody either has had it or knows somebody that has. So, the empathy goes all the way around. I echo that sentiment. Definitely hope everyone out there is safe and healthy, and that we can provide some volleyball in a time where maybe that's all you're able to do right about now is watch some sports. So fortunately, we've got a couple good matches this week that we, at least right now, we think are going to be played according to the schedule, which is awesome.
So,
we hope so. And you have one on Thursday as well, which we'll talk about in just a second. So let's jump into this matchup. This matchup this week that Matt is also familiar with. Starting off with Fenerbahce of Istanbul. They will be hosting this match this week on Wednesday. Third place in Turkey domestically right now. They lost in the finals in a crazy 3-match series last season in Turkey, and are just a mainstay in Champions League, although they failed to make it out of the fourth round last year in a very difficult pool. They're 1-2 in third place in the pool right now. Let's throw up the standings of the pool really quickly. So you see Matt's Perugia team comfortably atop that list in Pool E. Trentino, their Italian rivals, right behind them. Fenerbahce, one of the very best third place teams in the competition right now. There aren't that many pools that have 3 legitimately really good teams in them, and this is definitely one of them. So as for a projected starting lineup for Fenerbahce, we've seen, and Matt, you can weigh in on this if you think this is close to accurate or not. Salvador Hidalgo Oliva and Yassine Luati at the outsides, assuming they're healthy. We definitely know those two guys are going to go. Actually, we had a match of the year earlier that we did the show with your team, Perugia and Trentino, and Salvador hopped on the show and came on with me, and we chatted about it, which was very cool. But I think the big piece for them is getting Syed Musavi back, the Iranian middle blocker who didn't play for most of the first half of the year. I don't think he played against you guys, right, Matt?
No, he didn't. Yeah, Syed is. I mean, I've played against him for years on the national team, and it's one of the most dominant blockers out there. And he's not necessarily undersized, but not oversized. He's not the 7'2" Russian middle blockers that high ball hitting is just almost impossible to get around him. But he's fast. He's one of the best read blockers out there, able to move laterally, just put his hands up and always kind of finish back to the court, which is it's a skill that has eluded me for most of my career, and definitely
You're not the
respect
only
big
one.
blockers like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your national team teammate David Smith is kind of a similar typecast player, like not
Mm-hmm.
not big, but certainly not small by any means. But yeah, the blocking fundamentals you have to make it at the elite levels in the middle like that are just insane. Yeah, the hands you have to have are nuts. So I love
Mm-hmm.
watching Syed play, and I think that's a big boost for Fenerbahce if they can get him back for this. I know he's played the last couple domestic matches for him, which is
Mm-hmm.
huge. And then picking up Yassine Louati in the offseason is a very nice move.
Yeah.
Olympic gold medalist, of course. So they've got a little bit more firepower and high ball scoring ability than the Fenerbahce teams of the past. And I mean, when
Mm-hmm.
you guys played them last, you guys were both shorthanded. But tell me about your experience so far playing Fenerbahce once, and you'll see him again in a couple weeks.
Yeah, that match was interesting. A few of us just came back from our stint with COVID, some of our players, and our middle blocker just came back from a quad strain, and unfortunately, throughout that match, strained it again. So we had Tice, their host, our opposite slash outside slash now middle, jumped in and played for us, and they just had some guys that coming back from COVID too. So Hidalgo actually didn't start against us, but came in off the bench. I think their
Right.
opposite just came back from it as well. So he was, I mean, but he still played really well against us, and um, they're a good team. They with Lauti. I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name, but he. He adds more, like you said, more firepower, and with the two outsides with that much speed, they run a really fast ball to the pin on the left. You have to respect it, and then it opens up the middle of the court for them as well. So I think that's the biggest advantage to having ball control speed outside hitters is you spread the court and make it more difficult for the other team, their pin hitter or their pin blockers as well as their middle blocker as well, because he's got to be running all over the place.
Yeah, that's so I grew up playing middle for years and watching it at the highest levels like this. When you play a team like Fenerbahce who's running that lightning fast ball to the outside, and then you have Bick to worry about too, who both of those guys will really
Mm-hmm.
get out of the pipe. Like, yeah, high like elite level middle blocking against a perfect pass, I think is the most impossible job in the world. So I do not envy those guys who have to try and do that. Yeah, shouts to Tyster
Yeah,
Horse for sliding into the middle, man. Like he's really
yeah,
been called upon by Perugia the last couple years to do literally everything and expanding upon that in that one. I forgot
yeah.
about that. I'm glad you brought that up.
Mm-hmm.
And Ole Plotnitsky at libero in that match, as I recall
Oh,
as
that's
well.
right. Jeez, I forgot about that. And he got MVP of the match. Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, that was not a guy I expected to see in the wrong color jersey. that was
Yeah,
pretty
he's
wild.
he's arguably our best ball control outside. He passes the ball really well, and just so happens he's got a thunderous serve as well. Serving in the high 100 teens to 120s. And anytime, I
This
mean, again, what you're saying before about having those speed hitters on the pin and not wanting to be a middle blocker, when you can serve, I mean, that's where our team kind of comes into play with our big serves that can pull teams off the net and therefore make it a little bit easier on our middle blockers and our blockers on the pins to scheme and try and beat these teams.
Yeah, you've got a decent serving lineup on your team, I suppose.
Just a
Decent at
few,
best.
yeah,
Yeah,
just a few guys.
and this since we're on the topic of Ole Plotnitsky, who's awesome. This is a little bit off topic, but I wanted to ask about this because we talk a lot about, like on the show in the past, and about how club teams are constructed, about the importance
Mm-hmm.
of the third outside hitter position. And with you
Mm-hmm.
coming in this year as one of the two, I mean, classic starting outsides, there's no way they're leaving you on the bench in matches that really, really matter. But having Ole come off the bench when you need him as a guy who's played starter level minutes the last couple of years. How important is that to a club team? Like a serving sub, a defense sub? Like sometimes you'll have Kalachi or Libero come in for Leon and leave Ole in there
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. Like how much of a
Mm-hmm.
luxury is it to have a guy like that who can come in and you know that he's comfortable contributing right away?
Dude, anytime you can get more great players on your team, they're welcomed, you know. And,
Well said.
it helps. Yeah, it helps in those big matches, in those situations you said where he can come in and he can serve for a middle blocker and then stay in, and Max can swap out with Leo to just help our passing kind of calm down. And because usually towards the end of the sets, you know, it's one or two balls here or there that can sway the set in your favor or against you. So to have him come in and, you know, instead of letting, you know, an ace happen, he is able to get a one pass a place where we can hit a high ball, you know, or instead of a high ball, we're hitting a medium pass ball, and so on and so forth. But or getting a dig here or there, you know, too. That's always a positive out of the back row. Um, but yeah, it also helps in the matches when, you know, we play so many times, and especially with COVID happening and moving matches around, we're playing every 3-4 days, and it doesn't really seem like that's going to end until the season's over, just because
Yeah.
like you said, we're moving so many matches around. So to be able to give some guys some rest and know that the level of our play isn't going to drop off is huge. It's really huge, and we're constantly in training, swapping out different lineups just to keep everybody on the same page with each other and keeping rhythms in flow.
Yeah, it sounds like it's pretty clear that that's a huge thing that Perugia was able to do in the offseason because last year depth was a little bit of an issue for them, and now it's a tremendous strength. Yeah, bringing in you,
Mm-hmm.
Riklitzky, Simone Gianelli obviously is a huge one, but then they didn't really lose anybody either. So yeah, you've got a lot of guys that can come in and contribute right away. I've commentated a handful of your matches in Italy this year, and it's been a mixed bag of guys, which is perfect. Like out of necessity when COVID strikes inevitably as it has to so many teams, and then just to give some guys some rest. Like I think I had you guys against Verona, and Ole ripped like 4 aces in a row in one set and was the best player on the floor. Like he's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And on top of that hard serve he has, he's also got a really gnarly chop serve, you know,
Oh,
and
that
being a
was the one. Yeah, I think
yeah,
he got a hooker to zone 5 sideline and then like a wrist away to zone 1 sideline back to back. It was nasty.
yeah, yeah, and to have that powerful serve and that variation in your serve, it's almost impossible to, you know, sometimes when you have to dig in for a serve coming at 125, 130 kilometers, and then, oh, by the way, I'm just going to drop this at 95, you know, at 4 meters off the net. So good luck. So
Nasty. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
sure you might have fun passing them in practice, but not in the games.
yeah, exactly.
All right, so let's move on to Fenerbahce's opponent this week, who Matt knows really well. Trentino, 2-1 in the pool, 6 points, second place. Have put themselves in a pretty good spot to
Hmm.
advance, but this match against Fenerbahce will not be easy for them by any means. Because just
Hmm.
to go over the advancement criteria, if you win your pool, you're in, and then of the 5 second place teams, the top 3 move on to the round of 8. So 4-2 is usually the minimum for getting out as a second place team. So that's kind of what Trentino's looking at right now. 11-4, 34 points, third in Italy right now. They got third in the Italian playoffs last year. They, of course, ran all the way to second in Champions League last season, which was a pretty unbelievable run, losing to that
Hmm.
miracle Zaxa team in the finals. They've won the Champions League 3 times as a club. Those were 3 in a row from 09 to 11. They
Hmm.
have a crazy schedule this year, going to Brazil to play Club World Championships as well. And earlier in the season, in kind of an upset preseason tournament, they won the
Hmm.
Italian Super Cup and kind of beat Matt's Perugia team on the way. And with the offseason that we saw in Italy, which was as crazy as any offseason of transfers ever, I didn't expect that Trentino team to come out and do what they did in that tournament, and they did. They made quite the statement.
Hmm.
So part of the reason why they're surprising people is because of this lineup configuration that they run. So I have listed here like Daniele Lavia as an opposite because he lines up across from the setter, but he's not an
Hmm.
opposite. He's a third outside hitter. They run this really
Yeah.
unique 3 outside hitter offense with like bringing Matej Kaziski back, the veteran, longtime Trentino legend. They bring him back into the mix. They have Micheletto, who's emerged as an absolute superstar this year. And so they can move all three of their wings around to pass the ball, hit on either side, hit pipe or position one or whatever. It's this very like free flowing offensive thing that they can just use all their talent on the wings to move them around. And
Mhm.
while like I was wondering if they were going to have like a traditional right side like out of system scoring presence throughout the season, it works for them. It's crazy, especially because Lavia can block really well on both sides. So Matt,
Mhm.
having played these guys so many times, also they're unbelievable in the middle. That helps. Having played these
Yeah.
guys so many times, what's your take on this three outside hitter offense? It's I haven't really ever seen it at this high of a level before, and it works way better than I thought it would.
Yes, it's interesting for me to see because first of all, let's talk about the individual players. Matej Kaczynski, like you said, he's a legend. He's one of the best bikers to ever play the game, and is continuing to play at such a high level that there's no fall off even with his age.
Right.
Which again, all the props to him. They have two of the best and brightest young outside hitters from Italy in Micheletto and Lavia. They're just all out talented, great players, and they're a handful to try and stop on the court. And like you said, Lavia is not as tall as Micheletto, but he is one of the best blockers that we face in this league at being so young. Their two middle blockers, Podraskin and Lisnach, are again
They're insane.
speak for themselves. Yeah, they've been playing on
Yeah.
the national team for as long as I've been playing, and I mean all that experience only just makes them better players. Spertoli, an Italian setter that has been playing the national team for a few years as well, and just has big time matches under his belt that give them great experience and great confidence in the way they play. The system that they're playing, I'm really used to it. You know, I mean that was part of my reason
Yeah.
for switching to the opposite on the national team for USA. We use me as more of a traditional opposite in attack and blocking, in transition and stuff like that. But I'm also in there to pass. So it's a system, like I said, that I'm used to, and I like. I think it's awesome. I think it's the next revelation in the game of just being able to play so fast at both pins and having guys that have the ball control to be able to step in and pass here, or this rotation, we want to step you out so that you're a little bit more free to spike, or having a back row hitter, a big hitter be open to just full steam ahead like a middle blocker coming in for a quick attack out of the back row. And there's so many different variations of the system that they can put into play at any time that makes it very hard to scout them and very hard to beat them. And again, I mean, they played so well in that Super Cup against us and in the finals against Monza. And we knew from the get-go that they were going to be a handful and a team that we would have to beat, most likely in both Champions League and the domestic league here in Italy to try and win.
Yeah, they really have reinvented a style that I personally haven't seen at this high of a level, maybe ever. And it's cool to follow champions like league like this because there are teams that come out of all over Europe every year that have a extremely unique, identifiable style, and it's always interesting to see how far in a tournament like Champions
Mm-hmm.
League that can go. Last year, Zaxa is a great example. Like they ran a traditional lineup of 7 guys, but their play style was completely unique. And we talked all on the show last year, like, okay, this is really cool. How far can this go in Champions League? And we saw the answer. It can win the whole thing. Which is
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable. So this Trentino team, I think maybe early in the season where nobody had seen this three outside hitter thing yet, took a lot of people by surprise, and making them really difficult to scout is a great point that you made. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, nobody sees this on a regular basis. How do you know where they want to go in certain rotations when it changes
Mm-hmm.
literally every time?
Yeah, I think that's just also a team that has such a balanced offense and a team
Right.
that can offer even if it's a traditional two outside opposite middle blockers kind of system, which we're all used to seeing. Like if the center is good enough and deceptive enough and you're passing the ball well enough, it's really hard to stop. I mean, it's like 80 something, 85%, something like that. Perfect pass situations, the team sides out on the first swing, even. So it's really hard to stop a team that passes the ball well, and that's why ball control outsides are a hot commodity, and they always will be. Somebody that can pass the ball and still put a ball away is
Yeah,
is
you
better
never
than
have
somebody
enough of
that
them.
can. Yeah, it's better than just somebody that can go hit high balls because I mean you're going to get tired at some point, and to have that ball in the setter's hand on the net with all options to run, and you have a setter like Spertoli or a setter like our setter in Gianelli or Micah Christensen in the national team, Bruno, these top level setters. It's hard, man. It's really hard to stop them.
It's impossible. Yeah, like 85% side out on a perfect pass. I think it might even be a little bit higher than that.
Probably. I'm just
It's
throwing numbers
so
out there,
oh
but yeah.
yeah, no, you're totally in the ballpark. Yeah, it's so hard to stop those offenses. And just to wrap up Trentino really quickly, that team that went to the Champions League finals last year was a crazy stacked roster. You had Simone Gianelli, who is now Matt's teammate in Perugia, Namir Abdelaziz, Ricardo Lucarelli. Like the middles were the same. They were able to keep those intact, and they had a little bit of a tumultuous offseason. So everybody thought like, oh, this Trentino team is like in a selling mode in terms of the transfer market, and it turns out that they weren't. Kept Micheletto, brought in Spertoli, an Italian setter, which was huge for the foreigner limit in Italy to replace Gianelli. They
Mm-hmm.
bring in Lavia, they bring Kaczynski back, and now they bring a good foreign libero and Julian Zanger. Now they're right back at the top of Italy again. So let's look at the last time Trentino and Fenerbahce played, because we're now to the point in Champions League where everybody in the fourth round has already seen each other once. So back on December 16th, Fenerbahce went to Italy and lost in 3 pretty tight sets. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so a couple key things that I pulled out of this stat sheet. I remember watching the match, but what I didn't remember was how ridiculous the Trentino middles were. 10 for
Mm-hmm.
14 and 0 errors combined. So it's not, there aren't very many teams that are built to stop Pedrashin and Lisinac, but that
Mm-hmm.
match in particular, I thought they were truly an advantage for Trentino. And this was before Fenerbahce had Syed in the mix. So I think that's huge for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like you see that set score 25-22 in the second, Fenerbahce led 21-17, and then an 8-1
Yikes.
run from Trentino to end it, which is ridiculous. Also, the third, I hope this isn't a typo because this would be scary if it was. Trentino led 21-9 in the third, and probably let off the gas a little bit. Fenerbahce made it
Mm-hmm.
respectable on the scoreline, but 21-9. I mean, it's over at that point. So 10 blocks, 7 aces, and Fenerbahce's 2 main hitters that day were good but not great. And when Trentino's
Mm-hmm.
that good in the middle, that I mean, that's a recipe for a 3-0 right there. So, Matt, any takes on this matchup, like the way the two teams now have seen one another once, and they're going to get a little
Mm-hmm.
bit boosted from their benches? What do you see going on in the matchup this time?
Oh, I expect Fenerbahce to come out and play hard. They're at home. Trento's on the road, traveling the day before, and we just made that trip not too long ago. And it's not the hardest trip, but it's not the most comfortable trip either.
Mhm.
It's in distance as the crow flies, not very far, but having to drive to an airport, fly, drive, and everything, it can add up. And Fenerbahce is going to have most of their firepower and running on all cylinders now that they're all healthy and coming back. So I expect it to be a tough match. I don't necessarily know. I don't like making predictions on how it goes, but in results of scores. But I expect, again, maybe not so many skewed starts, 21-9, like you said, or 21-17 and comebacks like that. But I expect, tight sets all the way through. Uh, but you touched on something before that I wanted to bring up, but yeah. Oh, the serving. I think
Yeah.
Fenerbahce has some guys that can go back and rip, and in being at home, um, you just feel more comfortable. I mean, you're training in that gym more than you're training anywhere else, and I mean they served really strong against us, and it put us in some tight situations down our match. So I expect them to come out and rip serves.
Yeah, Fenerbahce had 7 aces in that match, which is a lot, matching what Trentino
Mm-hmm.
put up, and Salvador Hidalgo Oliva had 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. You can get 4 aces in 3 sets. That's a nice
For
ratio. Yeah,
sure.
only 3 errors as well. That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll take that every day of the week. Talk to me about Turkish fans. If it depends on what their capacity restrictions are, but especially on the CEV channel, we get like the YouTube chats whenever we do a live show are just flooded with Turkish fans. Like their fans are so
Mm-hmm.
passionate and they go nuts in their home arenas. It's incredible to
Hmm.
see like the atmospheres that they're able to create in there. And there are great volleyball fans all over the world, and you've seen every different style of them that exists. But what is playing in Turkey like in particular?
Yeah, it's intense. Like you said, they all have their chance, and like so, Fenerbahce is a club, like a sports club, so it has many different teams across different types of sports. So I
Right,
mean,
and
they all
one of the
have
best in all the world.
right, and they have their Fenerbahce chants that they all know, and the fans, like I said, are diehard. So it doesn't make it easy, definitely, and they they're in your face and in your ears, and that's not always the best for a player that's not having the best match. You can get internal, and it seems relentless, and it's hats off to them. I think it's the same when you come here and play in Perugia because the fans are nonstop, nonstop here. They're always on their feet, drumming, singing, and it makes the atmosphere more fun, I think, and more entertaining for the fans and us players. Uh, but it can also be a hindrance for the away team.
Which is exactly how Fenerbahce wants it. Yeah, it's what
Yeah,
home field, home court advantage in sports is all about. So yeah,
exactly.
I'm very high on the Turkish home fan base. I think they have an impact on matches, and like Trentino and the travel, like you mentioned, is a non-trivial part of it. Trentino certainly knows that, having gone to Brazil
Hmm.
earlier this season, but it's so much more comfortable to wake up in your own bed in the morning and drive quickly to the arena and go home afterwards versus a bus ride, a flight, another bus ride to get screamed at in a foreign language the entire match. Like it's a
Yeah,
different thing. So that is an advantage that Fenerbahce will have in this rematch that they didn't have the first time. So
for
I'm
sure.
interested to see how that plays out into it. So I wanted to bring this up because you, Matt, and Perugia have played this Trentino team so many times this year. It's insane. Like already four times with another one guaranteed
Hmm.
on the schedule in Champions League. And then who knows, you see him in like you're both still alive in the Coppa Italia. You could very well see him there. You could see him in the
Hmm.
playoffs. Like who knows? First of all, are you sick of playing this team yet? And second of all, like how is it different playing them the fourth time versus playing them the first time, especially with that lineup that they run?
Yeah, I think every time you play a team, it should only be beneficial for you because even the matches that we won, the 3-0 wins, there were still things we did in that match that we can get better at. And every time you play them, they open their books a little bit more and let you see more that they're going to do against you. And it's not always a defensive thing; it could be an offensive thing. And you know how they're scheming against us with their block, how they're serving against us. What are they seeing in video that we need to work on? Um, and it only helps us against other teammates as well because what they're seeing, other teams are seeing as well.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm necessarily want to say I'm sick of playing them because they're a formidable opponent and they deserve to be in the top of this league, in the top of Champions League, and in the playoffs. And we're kind of face time. It's not. I don't think it's a matter of if; it's just when. And so we have to use all this time that we're training to play against them, and the time that we're actually playing against them to learn them a little bit more. And just like I said before, it's one or two balls either in the beginning, end, or middle of sets that can sway a set to you, and therefore a match to you.
Yeah, especially when the side out percentages are so high, it just amplifies the ability to score on serve that much more. And when you know each other so well, the side out percentages may increase even a little bit more, but also the preparedness and block and defense to slow each other down and the serving strategy. It's all just so fascinating. So I wanted to ask about the unique situation of playing a team in Champions League that you also play domestically. So when like you
Hmm.
go to Trentino and play them, which you have many times this year, but it happens to be a Champions League match, does that
Hmm.
change at all like the way you feel about that match, the way your team prepares for it, or does it just is just another match against Trentino in Italy? It just happens to matter for the Champions League standings instead of the Superliga. Like that's kind of interesting, and you don't always get that with teams in the same country playing each other in CEV.
Hmm. I think we're a top level team, and the expectations we hold for ourselves exceed the expectations that our fans and our you know just general fans of volleyball expect, and that's why we are able to continue to put up big fights against these teams. The match that we lost to Trento earlier this year, or not too long ago in January, 3-2 at Trento. I just came back from COVID. A couple of guys, our starting setter, Simo, just got COVID that morning and had to drive back to Perugia. We were down in middle blocker. Just all these things were happening. And that's where those other guys come off the bench. And, it's almost, we try to make it so we're not even missing a step, and they can be plugged in and taken out as needed to help our team win. And they just played well. And it's hard to play a great team so many times. But to say that there's a difference between the Champions League match and the Super League match, I personally don't feel a difference. We're going to put our best guys out there. We're going to try and win. We're not going into a match thinking, hey, you know what? We're just going to put some different guys in there. We're going to try and get some guys some rest and, do your best. Try and win. That doesn't happen at our level.
No,
and
it can't.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't happen against Trento. It doesn't happen against the last place in the league or in Champions League. We're there to win because we know that when we play a team like Trento, there's a chance that they can beat us, and we need the points from the other matches, or we need to get as many points from this match as we can because it's pool play. So we need to finish first. We need to guarantee our advancement to the next round.
Yeah, it is huge, especially in Champions League. Every point out of those 6 matches that you play, you really can't sleepwalk through any of them. Otherwise, your chances to get out take a significant hit. Like this match here, Fenerbahce versus Trentino. Fenerbahce has to win this match really to have any chance because they're 1-2 right now. If you lose a third match, there's almost no way you can make it out as a second place team and get to the round of 8. So they feel the desperation for sure, and Trentino knows that. So yeah, the fact that you guys beat them the first time in Champions League is massive right now because it changes everything about the way the pool looks right now. Let's put the pool back up again. To get out to the next round, you're not kidding about how important every single match is. And in the Superliga, even though the sample size is bigger, every point there matters as well. Like, let's see how many points are separating you guys in Trentino in the standings right now. Not very many.
Yeah, so
they're in third by 1 point. Teams are still catching up on matches that they have to play, but it's so tight. It's so tight at the top level. So yeah, you can't take any matches off, and in so many different formats of competition, it's a lot of volleyball. You've got to keep your level high all the time, and both these teams are definitely ready to do that. So want to hit a couple other good matches that are happening this week in Champions League. Zierpankasa Ankara versus Warszawa of Poland. That'll be good. That's on Tuesday. I actually commentated the previous leg of that one where Zierpankasa went into Poland and beat them 3-1. That was interesting. That's another one of those pools that has 3 really good teams at the top. So Warszawa has to win that to have pretty much any chance. That'll be in Turkey. Zaksa, the defending champions, against Lokomotiv Novosibirsk. I think that's in Poland, if I remember correctly. That match.
Yeah, they went to Novosibirsk last time and they won.
Yeah, so they beat them, I think, 3-1. I think they beat them 3-1, and it was really tight, but they still got the full three points out of it. So that'll be good because, again, Lokomotiv needs to win that to have any chance in Poland. And Lokomotiv's good, but that's not an easy task. And then Matt's match this week, I think, is the only match happening on Thursday, playing against Caen of France, and that is a free match on YouTube, so everybody can watch. Can watch Matt and Perugia to cap off the week, which I'm looking forward to. So to go over the essentials for this one really quickly, just to make sure everyone knows how to watch Fenerbahce versus Trentino. It is on Wednesday, January 26th. That's 5 p.m. CET. It's in Istanbul. If you happen to be there and able to go to the match, I encourage you to do so. And it's live on YouTube. I'll make sure the link to the matches in the description of this video, but it should be very easy to find the CEV's super match of the week that they really spotlight. This one should be awesome, especially with the stakes. The stakes for both of these teams. We talked about it. We know how important it is for both of these teams' chances to advance. Fenerbahce, it's a must. Trentino, if they were to lose this, they would probably have to beat Matt and Perugia later to get out of pools, and that's obviously no guarantee with how good they are right now. So I expect this to be awesome. And I know Matt's not in the business of picking, especially picking the match, especially in a pool that he's in. But fortunately, I am, and man, I don't know. I don't know, Matt. You have to see if I'm a little bit too crazy about this one, but I might be feeling the upset here. I think that
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a possibility. Fenerbahce is a great serving team, and they put a lot of pressure on teams when they can pass the ball. And not to say that Trento can't handle that, because look, they're playing really well in both the domestic league and Champions League, and when they play down in the World Club Championship. So it's just, I think it's going to be a dogfight. I really do, and I'm excited to. I don't know if we'll have training during the match, but I'll definitely be watching video on it at some point in time, as we have to play both these teams still again.
cool. I think I might be commentating this match. We'll see. I think that schedule's moving around a little bit, but I'm definitely looking forward to it, especially that we've been able to preview it to this extent. Yeah, I think Syed coming back for Fenerbahce is massive. If they have any chance of
Mm-hmm.
slowing down Lisinac and Pedrashin in the middle for Trentino, that's going to really help, as will
Mm-hmm.
any amount of service pressure they can put on to make that sort of weird Trentino offense just a little bit more predictable. So I
Yeah.
expect that to be a big deal. Yeah, the serve and pass battle, I mean, determines who wins pretty much every match at this high of a level. But this one in particular, I expect it to be huge. The Fenerbahce home crowd, man, yeah, I don't see this being a sweep in any direction. I think these two teams are too good for that. I think Trentino's talent, top to bottom, is a little bit stronger than Fenerbahce's, but Fenerbahce's got the
Mm-hmm.
desperation and they're playing at home. Oh man, I don't know how to pick this. I'm gonna I like picking five setters, so I'm going to say Trentino in five. I think they're going to go and they're going to survive a crazy five-set battle. That could be worth 2 points. We'll see how that'll matter down the road in the standings, but I expect
Yeah.
Fenerbahce to put up every amount of fight they possibly can. So Fenerbahce, or sorry, Trentino in five is my pick for now, and you guys can roast me on the show next week if I'm not even close.
Right on, man. Right on.
So that's about it. Matt, any messages to the people, I guess, before we get you off the show? And thank you very much again for coming on. This has been awesome.
Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, and of course, thank you everybody for all the support over the years. And although I've been changing teams quite a bit lately, it's still fun to play and be out here and competing in front of everyone.
Yeah, we love watching you, man. It's great to have you back in Champions League. You and your teammate Wilfredo Leon did some pretty ridiculous things in the Zenit Kazan dynasty, and watching you guys play
Hmm.
together again is such a treat. So good luck this week, playing
Thank
against
you.
Khan and the rest of the Super League season. And I'm excited to watch all of it. Excited to follow along, and yeah, good luck the rest of the way, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks everyone for watching. Enjoy the match on Wednesday. Make sure you know where to find it, and we will see you next week on the European Volleyball Show. Thanks.